haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Ines Garcia. I'm actually, let me pop my Twitter handler so you guys can connect with me. I'll just pop it in the chat. There you go. And I'm an Agile coach and the Salesforce MVP. And if you merge these two things, what actually means that I do every day is I help companies to become more agile, whilst most of the time delivering Salesforce technology. I have 14 certifications, so I really like to play with the products. So I don't like to get alienated from them. And I've been doing this like mix work of these two things since 2013. And I truly believe leaving the world in a better state than how we found it. So always really happy to share a little bit of knowledge like with you today, so you can take it and make it happen in your own context. And as you can see, I advocate for the community and for Agile. So in the screen, you can say I get involved with trillion things. Like, for example, I love board games as well. And I merge my love for games with the work that I do with teams. So I invented a game a couple years ago. And my last adventure, it was publishing a book. And you may have guessed the subjects, Agile and Salesforce. And, you know, it's packed with real life stories of teams that I work with, because at the end of the day, I'm on this quest to demystify what Agile is about. So we can bring it to its core, so it's easy to understand, it's tangible for people for their daily work, and that's for admins or project managers, consultants, developers, architects. You know, it's for humans that wants to deliver in a more thriving, in a more interesting, and in a less painful way in the Salesforce world. So here we go, first question for you. So out of the pictures that you see in the screen, which one describes the best how you feel about Agile? So 1, 2, 3, or 4. You either can show me in the camera or just pop it in the chat so we all can see. Which image describes the best how you feel about Agile? Nice, I see some coming. Keep it going. Emojis used, nice. Wow, lots of 3s and 4s, I see. Wow, nice, very nice. 5, okay, 5. You'll need to explain me that one. Cool, so thank you so much for sharing with everybody. Let's see how you feel at the end of the session. I hope many more 3s coming through. And for the curious ones, hopefully I'll clarify what really this thing is about, which is the aim really. And so, you know, good philosophers always start things with definitions so that everybody has the same understanding when you start talking. Like when you talk with your customers, it's the same. You know, it's good to have a clear definition of what we're talking about, especially with so much jargon in the work that we do. So starting with definition, if we just Google, you know, what is Agile means as an adjective, Agile means to move in a quick, in an easy way. Now, Agile with a capital A is an iterative incremental approach, optimizing predictability. You know, we want to be able to foresee better, and controlling risk. Now, this may sound a very serious explanation. I actually found one that I like much more. I'm going to ask you to define it with me, which is this one that explains what are we trying to achieve at the end of the day. And is to deliver better for us Salesforce value sooner, safer, and happier. Now, if we just pause for a second, and I'm gonna start asking you bits of this sentence. When you hear deliver better Salesforce value, What does better value mean to you? Better value. Just pop it in the chat. There is no wrong answers. I see coming in, better value being customer satisfaction, quality, keep it coming, satisfaction. Yeah, knowing what they want, meaningful update, meeting expectations, value for money. Very nice. Time to market. What else? I think I read them all. Satisfaction. Okay. Quality, satisfaction. Right. So that's better value. So we keep that in mind. That's what we're trying to achieve. How about sooner? So achieving that better value sooner. It doesn't say fast. It says sooner. What does sooner mean? What could it mean? Above competition. Yeah, keep it coming. Availability, meeting timelines, quicker, where is it? As soon as possible with best quality, on time, fail fast, quick delivery, less time, taking action immediately, available to use ASAP, available to use. Now, I really like some of the things you guys are adding over there. Nice, nice. How about safer? What does safer mean to us in the Salesforce world, in the work that we do? You know, we're delivering that better value. We're doing it that sooner. What safer could mean? Is secure, compliance, no defects, authentication and safe security, social friendly. It's okay to fail, but fail early. I see. Data security, trust, no impact or good impact. Right, so we go to production and it doesn't explode, for example. That could also be safer. We can roll back, which we know with Salesforce is not the easier thing. So what are the things that we can do to support that? Okay, and last but not least, the thing that I'm extremely passionate about and we do not talk about enough in the work that we do, and this is about happier. Now, we're talking about delivering value, do that sooner in a safer way for all parties involved, and happier. Now, what does happier mean to you? What does it mean to do the work that we do every day happier? Meeting expectations to the fullest, happy customers, best product, best quality, peace, fully satisfaction, client and dev. I really like that connotation, all parties involved, yes. Satisfaction of the product, transparent, obviously happy customers bring more business without escalation, meeting expected end results. You know, finishing the day feeling like a well done job. You know, I feel proud of what I accomplished today. Better processes, delightful UX, see the product evolve, be able to see the product. Yes, it's very important. I think the work that we do is very cognitive, right? From discussions to actually something tangible. So being able to see that product is super powerful. Fulfilling experience, product delivery of this course, receive appreciation tokens. And, you know, for me, I get bored really quickly. I need to have a nice balance of challenging something as well. So I need to keep entertained. That's why, I get involved with so many industries, so many different kind of projects. I like a bit of a challenge and great feedback. Yes, something that, again, we don't do enough to each other, certainly boosts us. Thank you. Thank you for playing with me. We'll play a little bit more later. But you see, in a few minutes, we have come together and we have defined how do we want our future to be? How do we want, from Monday to be? And some of the things that actually could help us to get there. So this is an exercise you can do with your team as well, and get a little bit more tangible in some of the items of when we do deployments, what does that mean? When we do releases, what does that mean? When we have a new project and we organize ourselves, what does that mean? So one way to depict, to illustrate that better, value sooner, safer, happier could be this way, right? So let's think for a second that we are crafting a product, call it new implementation, an enhancement. Maybe you have Service Cloud and you're adding some kind of refunds and return process, something that helps us to go from A to B. Now, in a more traditional way of delivering projects, you will be looking at enabling that move from A to B to achieve something only when 100% of the thing is complete. Now, as you can see, the customer face over here is not very happy, can do that thing, can do that return, can't use Salesforce yet, until the very end, until the 100% of the thing is complete. Now, instead, one way to achieve that better value sooner, safer, happier is this way, where throughout you enable that A to B, and you do that iterative incremental approach so that you can have more predictability about things in smaller loops, enhance what is there, and control risk. And you may have heard this idea of MVP, not as the Salesforce MVP, but as a minimum viable product or minimum marketable feature. And for me, all of this actually is talking to me about something which is about reducing waste. The whole thing is that we reduce deviation from value throughout, right? So having those small loops of incremental value helps us to redefine towards what gives the best impact. And so just to put it in a context, Salesforce implementation, a few years ago, one of the first persons I met in London, a very good friend of mine, started working for a nonprofit. And the nonprofit, it was very small NGO in London. They had 7 people plus volunteers. And it was the lifetime work of the CEO, who basically spent her time building connections, relationships, and fundraising all around transforming forgotten places in the city into community gardens. And absolutely all the information you can imagine was in her head. All those connections, all those relationships, where to get applications for funds and all sorts of things. Now, one day she got diagnosed with brain cancer, and it was fairly advanced. So my friend reached out. So we really had to move quick. We had to move real fast. Some of you may know the nonprofit success pack. Well, Salesforce have this model of 1-1-1, so we could apply for a product, a Salesforce Enterprise, up to 10 licenses for free. And luckily, we got accepted. And then as well with the NPSP, Nonprofit Success Pack, is like an app that you put on top that makes it industry more relatable about nonprofits. Now, that package has grown over the last 10 years a lot. It has a lot of things to it, which is great. It used to be open source. Anybody in the community could put things on it. Great. Now, They still do releases every couple of weeks and some patches on the other weekends. So it has a lot of things. Now for us to be able to deliver, that A to B and do that fast, what we did is, we just went live so that the users could, start using it. At least they could capture all that information and lifetime service and continue as the CEO legacy. And I'll tell you a bit more about it in a minute. But it's that idea, right? And so we at the end of the day, we are information and technology. So I feel compelled to talk to you about some figures. And even Salesforce themselves, in 2006, they made the move from a more traditional way to tackle projects and enhancements to a more agile manner. And with that move, they increased the productivity by 38%. And the major releases, those ones that we love, they managed to wrap them up 60% faster. Those are massive numbers. Imagine, and especially 2006, is when Apex starts showing in the picture. I'll give you more numbers of why is it worth. And so, some case report talks about success rates improving, but especially as the more complex something is, the most value you get out of it. And further research of Dr. Rico talks about improvements on cost, on schedule, on productivity, quality, satisfaction, all in all. Now, you may have seen this. Teams can go fast. Teams can go real fast. But if the rest of the organization doesn't keep up with the pace, it kind of defeats the object. And that's where, the concept of business agility comes to play, right? So we can deliver things real fast, but we need to be able to go, get to market quick with it rather than sitting there forever. That improves satisfactions from, yes, customers, but yes, from employees, to get that product that you've been building, to get it in use and bringing value. But it really needs that holistic idea of adaptive leadership, right? So rather than trying to forecast and predict the world in 18 months' time, with those KPIs and whatever of many very far away, that takes a lot of time and effort to put together. We need to be able to have those adaptations in smaller loops so we can adjust and we can actually start getting value sooner, safer, happier. Now, you may be thinking, okay, so why to bother to do the things differently? And essentially a century ago, think about the Industrial Revolution, we were more focused on execution rather than innovation. Life, one could argue, was more predictable. We had very clear what to accomplish, how we're going to do it. And for that, we had very defined modules and roles to deliver specific practices and very defined plans. Nothing's changed more quickly. So we need to be able to inspect and adapt more rapidly and deal with greater uncertainty. And so when we talk about innovation, the work that we do, I really advocate that the work that we do is creative. We don't replicate things, we invent things to support ideas. And so when you're looking at delivering projects, one of the things, what an alternative of what is all this Agile for? And in a very common methodology to deliver projects is called waterfall. And I would imagine most of you have heard, and if you haven't, you probably have been, you just don't know. And it's a cascade of events, and it kind of goes this way. So you will have a requirements phase where you write down all specifications, speak a lot of people, generate a lot of documents, whatever else. At the end of that phase, you will pause, you will wrap up that phase, you will get a sign off for that phase, and then once that happens, you can start. Most likely another team will pick up all that and generate phase 2, which is design. Very similar manner, stop at the end, sign off, whatever else you get to develop. At some point, you get to integrate with existing parts, test, and then deploy. So it's this kind of cascade of events, of phases. Now, in this way, if we think about, let's say this, let's make it a bit thicker. Right, so this is the amount of stuff that we want to get out the door, right? That's the things to do. And this is the timeline. This is when we ideally want to get it out the door. If we are looking at it with this waterfall cascade of events approach, what's happened is that at this point of time, in whichever approach actually, at that point of time, when you're starting, is the point, it's very rare that you have perfect knowledge at the beginning of a project. In fact, is when you know the least that you are ever going to know about it in the future. So going through the motions in this all way, what it does is that, okay, so remember, this is the stuff that we want to get out the door, and this is the timeline when. So start having those conversations and filling up those documents and whatever else, sign off. Then we'll do similar high-level design, more documents, conversations, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we get to the end of phase 2. And at this point, we haven't touched the product. We have not touched the thing that we need to get out the door. And so what's happened? Well, at this point, you can have some conversations in traditional project management. You could be asking for playing with the variable of budgets, cost. Can I have, you ask here, can I have more money, right? Cost variable. Now, this conversation doesn't go down very well. You could also be asking, can I have more time, right? I can deliver, but further down the line. That doesn't go down well either, because sometimes you have marketing campaigns, so the things attached to it that are related for this to happen. And so what's happened, and unfortunately what's happened, is that what we end up twiggling with is the variable of quality, right? So how does it look in our graph? Is that key items such as assurance and test gets pushed towards the end. And so as you can see, visually, this kind of makes this a bomb shell effect. And the name tells you everything. We go to production and explodes, right? So there has to be a better way. Now, in Agile, in a very simplistic manner, one would argue that what we do, bring another variable to the table and its features, right? We twiggle with scope. So just to wrap up about the waterfall, so the guy that often gets attributed the invention of this cascade of events is called Winston Royce, and the thing is from 1970. This is like forever ago. And he said in his paper, when he explains this cascade of events of phases, I believe in this concept, but the implementation described above is risky and invites failure. Like, why on earth is the thing that is used the most to deliver projects? It's a mystery. I don't think we can discover today. Like, I think it even tells us, how much people actually read documents to the very end. Now, just to wrap up with that idea of incremental, iterative approach, what we're trying to do with all this Agile thing is to deliver in smaller loops of value, right? So you are able to do those, this go to A to B, tangible, something in the market and in use throughout. That's the idea. Hence the little present, something that is in the market, that is in use for your users. That's all. Now, that idea of I hear often the Agile as a methodology. Agile is not a methodology. And as I was saying before, it's important to look at definitions. So if we look at the definition of methodology, it's a system of methods for a particular area. That doesn't tell us much. But what is a method? A method is a particular procedure, of accomplishing something, especially a systematic one. And again, the work that we do is you don't get a recipe and you follow exactly. So what I advocate, and I put avocados because it reminds me that word, what I advocate for is that Agile is a mindset. It's an established set of attitudes held by somebody. It's about how we are tackling a problem. It's this new lens to look at it. So we really want to be moving away from doing Agile, and it's about being Agile. And what it does is about promoting, yes, of course, we do planning, but we do adaptive planning. We do development, yes, but in the way that we develop things, it's evolutionary development, right? So things that are reusable, modular, not so tied together. We do delivery, but we do early delivery. And that idea of continuous improvement. And what really encourage is a rapid and flexible response to change. Change is innate, things change, that's okay. So let's not fight against it because that is going to happen. So how we react to it is what makes the difference. And a little background, I don't know if you guys had the chance, but the Agile Manifesto website is very nice. We often get shown the four values, the 12 principles, and all of that. But if you look at it, you look at the about why these people even came together. It's actually very nice what they are trying to achieve. So 20 years ago, all these people from software came together in a ski resort, and they said, we were doing things differently. Let's just keep our discrepancies aside, and let's find commonalities. What do we have in common, and why is it better? And they came up with a manifesto. Now, there you had people from like extreme programming and Scrum and Crystal, pragmatic programming, test-driven, all sorts. And yes, it comes from software, but you can apply Agile because it's a mindset. You can apply it anywhere you want. For example, I have a video, if any of you is interested, about a building of 15-story tall, which was 9 earthquake resistant, and it was delivered in 6 days. Or I've done work with startups to like the biggest UK utility company here. Or I've done work for a roofing company, and yes, a roofing company can also be more agile. They go to site and they take some tiles out and like, oh, bugs. Or, they do spikes, they do investigations, they ring fence a block of time to look at options, to learn a bit more about it, because there is always more than one way to achieve something. And I even done work with a PMO team, project management office, and whatever they do also can be more agile. Better, value sooner, safer, happier. So I saw this the other day, and I thought to show you because I found it quite interesting. So this website, they've been collecting the options, the systems landscape, since I think it's 2011 here. You see since 14. And as you can see, the graph over time is growing. So what I'm trying to depict here is that change is innate, it's part of us. It's an exponential growth of options, of technology, of possibilities. Ever change is not going to slow down. If anything, it's going to continue and increment. And what we're looking at the screen at the moment is only MarTech technology, marketing technology. So imagine in the old world that we do much more than that, beyond that, right? So don't get confused with flashy new things. Aim and measure impact. That's what matters. And we did say earlier that things change quickly. And just thinking the last 12 months, 15 months, the roller coaster that has affected our world in a very different manner, but definitely a massive hit. Now, in the Salesforce world, in the work that we do, now how many months and months of projects are in limbo, are still today in limbo, or have gone to the bin. Things are not used. It's like mad. And think about all that time and effort and funds and energy invested into the thing. Like, it's key that we keep going at what we're doing. The technology world where we work is really important and can make a massive difference in people's life. We have seen over the last 15 days, things that we never imagined possible will be done within months. It was actually a turnaround with focus and care in weeks. Now, in the way that we keep going, we need to do it smarter when we're approaching a challenge. And so the Agile Manifesto, as I mentioned, it gives you 4 values, 12 principles, and we just don't have time to go into all of that. So instead, I'm going to give you a link of a free course. You can get a free, what they call Pluralsight course. And in Pluralsight, you actually have a whole heap of courses all about Salesforce, right? So there you can get one specific about my course, which is for free, for Agile. And I go through much more detail. I even talk to you about the layers, the onion that you can see in the screen. And I also cover more about the cycles, that idea of loops of value delivered. And for example, the Scrum framework, which is much more in detail, like if I just give you a visual representation of what it could be. Of that, delivering in feedback loops often of value could look something like this. And so, those cycles, those time boxes, what allows you with feedback loops is to go to market earlier, right? You can hit production before that you could have. You can start trading earlier. That thing that is finally in product can be used earlier. And that what does is that you get feedback earlier, so you actually understand what's really wanted, what is used, what works, and what doesn't, so that you can inform the next steps rather than guessing or hidden agendas or gut feel and all these things that we see in organizations all the time. And at the end of the day, you can reduce waste. Now, in the example of the nonprofit before, we enable week 1, enable users to access households and organizations. So in the nonprofit world, basically families as accounts and companies as accounts. And we enable the relationships and affiliations, right? How the affiliations of these accounts entity link to each other and relationships of contacts on the different individuals there. Week 1, they could capture that information. Those contacts, that lifetime service of connections of the CEO for 40 years could be captured somewhere. Then week 2, we added a little bit of donation and income management. For a nonprofit, it's important to know where the grants come from, right? Where that money is going so they can generate their impact reports. And then week 3, we went with basic volunteering management, because at the end of the day, there were 7 people in the nonprofit. The volunteering, it was like the backbone of their operation. Now, you may have heard of this word called sprint. And the sprint is basically that idea of a time box, of a feedback loop, where doing the things in that manner, what allows you to do is respond to new events and information as things change rather than fight with change. We let it in. So you can deploy viable value into the market. So you can learn from that thing that is out with real data, evidence. So you can input, that's going to give you an input into what you're going to do next. And so with that information, you can adjust, on feedback. Are you going to persevere with this idea? Are you going to pivot? Either or. So you can stop wasting time in things that don't work. And that gives you time and gives you headspace so that you can experiment and innovate faster. At the end of the day, for me, nowadays, there is 2 things that make somebody succeed in the market, right? Being better than others in what we do. And one is to go to market earlier, right? You hit ideas in use real fast. And second is how quickly you can turn those ideas into a fully fledged product. So that's what makes you win. Now, just to wrap up for today, and then for the content that I had ready, this way to attack problems is going to give you a competitive advantage that no other manner can give you at this rate. I have not seen anything like that. And it's important to have that vision, right? Like a map, you know where you're going, you know your horizon. Now, how you fine tune along the way, how you adjust your journey, it's going to make a big difference, right? When you pick up the car and go somewhere, you don't have to see all the roads all the way to the destination. You need to see far enough to maneuver and adjust. Now, how we slice that work, right? So if what we need to deliver is in smaller cycles, how we slice the pieces of work is super important. In traditional software, which we have 3 layers of the cake, right? Of a piece of something that somebody can eat when it's in production. And the 3 layers are, well, you have your business logic, what the thing does. You have your database, right? So things that changes, save, edit, delete, whatever. And then you have your user interface. Now, in our world of Salesforce makes it very, very easy for us to have these 3 things really linked together. So it's very important that how we slice that cake is going to make a difference, right? You're not going to give only the sponge part to your users to eat. It's too dry. It needs to have the whole thing, even a little bit of wow factor, so that at the end of the day, we can deliver that better Salesforce value sooner, safer, and happier. And remember, the goal is not to be agile. The goal is to improve. And so try things, do it with your team. Try again, try something else. And with that, that's basically the content that I had today. I love to open up for questions, thoughts, whatever you want to ask me. I've been in the ecosystem for quite some time. Whatever it is, happy to talk to you about it. Yeah, thank you for listening to me. Oh, I forgot as well. I put 50% off my book on Kindle for Amazon for you guys in India. I self-publish, so I don't have like vouchers or anything like that. So actually, it's all India Amazon. My book is half because I couldn't do it only for you. So there you go. A little bit of help for everybody.
That's sweet of you, Ines. And thank you for this wonderful session. Cool. So, guys, any questions, you can let Ines know and she will answer. Hello.
I don't bite. I didn't clarify that.
Yeah.
Anything career related, Salesforce related, how you write a book related, I don't know. Whatever it is, you have me here, I'm all yours, so just go for it. Or feedback, I take it as well.
Yeah.
How do you handle attrition in teams? Attrition is turnover. So I would assume so. So okay, let's think about this. One of the things that we should do as a team and as an organization is help ourselves, right, on that safer, on that better value. And so it's important that we keep, how's it called, institutional knowledge with us. So in the way that we do work, do it in a way so that there is not only one hero, right? So how can we do it collaborative so that we can enrich each other's ideas and solutions? So once people come and go, which we obviously want to reduce, but these things happen, now you are not putting yourself in a very difficult position. So it's important of how we co-create the things that we deliver. That will be one way to handle attrition. Okay, keep us. Okay, thanks. Nice to see you again. A Scrum Master is a Scrum Master always necessary in Scrum calls? And does a Scrum Master have to be a manager? Okay, now we haven't covered Scrum as a framework. I am a Scrum professional. That means I finish all the paths. There are certain certifications and experience and things that you need to prepare a few years ago now. And in a Scrum, you are presented with several roles, one of which is the Scrum Master. Now, the Scrum Master is about removing itself from the product and look at the process, right? And I myself do development, and so I get really attached to the thing that I'm delivering, right? And that's normal. Hence, this external facilitator that is there to support the team, like a servant leader. Now, the aim of that person is to educate about Scrum, is to help the team to become better at what they do, and the rest of the organization. Very good Scrum Masters start moving across the layers of the organization, so the whole, idea of going there faster together and better. So with that in mind, does it have to be in all calls? No, because you are enhancing how the team do better at what they do, right? So that could mean a lot of things, depends on where the context is. And does it have to be a manager? No, it's a servant leader. A Scrum Master doesn't tell you, nor a project manager should do, tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, what to do, right? We are creative beings. We are social beings. If we put our thoughts together, we end up with a better product. So I will just focus on that idea of going together into the journey. This is not my job, or this is not my department, or I'm only a tester, or whatever. That doesn't work. We need to look beyond of today's world, which is, the idea of the commons. How do we have so much, open source for free technology, access to service for free, because people put that passion to share with others, right? So we need to look at similar way of how we enable the commons in our organization. Doesn't matter if you're talking with a VP, with a sales, with a dev, it doesn't matter, right? We have the same goal. A lot of the things that could happen last year, within weeks, within days, that will not have happened in crazy other times of months and months of projects, is because we pause, we reduce waste, we prioritize, we focus, and we together went towards the same direction. Simple as that. Extremely complicated to put it on the day-to-day. But yeah, that's what I will say. Now, how frequent or time should have a Scrum meetings to be more productive? I see most of the time meetings went long unnecessarily. Yeah. Okay, well, a Scrum specific framework, again, is going to give you an idea of how long those things depends of how long your cycle, your sprint is, right? One of the things that often happens is that you have that daily sprint with your team that's supposed to be 15 minutes, right? What did I accomplish yesterday? What I'm planning to finish today? And do I have any obstacles or anything is slowing me down? So we can help each other, we can align each other, so we arrive together to our goal. The problem that we have is that this is not a methodology. This is not a checklist, a shopping list for you to tick, tick, tick and do. This is a different way to view the world with like high definition glasses. Now you decide to put them on or not. The problem that our brain has, how human brain works, is trying to apply existing past knowledge into new ideas. No wonder things really get messed up, right? So you end up having meetings that they were there already. You call them different. The motions are the same. The interactions are the same. Nothing's going to change, right? So even sometimes the best that you can do is don't use the word agile at all. Keep it for yourself. How can you do that delivery of value sooner, safer, happier, smaller loops, and improve yourself in what you do and with your team. That's it. Forget about Agile. The world comes with so much baggage. Yeah, I really like playing with Miro. If I knew what was happening last year, I should have bought stocks of Miro a couple years ago, because yeah, it's fantastic. I'm glad you like it. What exactly does zero sprint mean in Agile? Well, again, people invent things to add into their context and whatever. Some people like to talk about sprint zero. I think defeats the object, and you miss out in the benefits, right? Which is give yourself that phase one of, we were looking at waterfall of the requirements, so something like that, sprint zero, some time to like organize yourself. I wouldn't bother. This week we're gonna deliver value. What does value gonna mean? And forget about whatever else. It's small loops of something tangible somebody can use. That's the aim. How to deal with the deadlines when the scope changes frequently? Scope change, no problem, no problem. I have pretty much the most defined contracts in the world, which is I'm telling you this week, how much it's gonna cost you, the time loop, and what you're gonna get. You're not going to get a more defined contract of this week, this value, this time, right? You need to help yourself with, what comes in, what comes out, what do you adjust. At the end of the day, you fix quality, you fix timeline, you fix cost. What you toggle it with scope, yet the user can still go to A to B. So again, it's a change of mindset, a different way to look at it. Do you have any tool recommendation with teams that are currently using Agile Accelerator? Oh, yeah. You know what? I actually had some talks about Agile Accelerator, and I was really happy years ago to see it, because Salesforce Labs is this group of employees at Salesforce that they can put apps for free in the App Exchange. So that's fantastic. And I saw this one, and you have your sprints, your Kanbans. Before we had Kanbans in any objects in the core Salesforce. So I had a lot of cool stuff. And it's like a little slither of what Salesforce use. They use this GUS, Grand Unified System. So a little bit of what is used the most is all packaged in this thing. All well and good, but like as any apps, there are some things that you can change. And so you're gonna have some trade-off. And I personally, I've done the last three companies Salesforce related, we make up our own app. You only need few objects. You need epic projects, right? You need those slices of cakes. You have your product backlog items. That's it. Some fields. Kanban, standard Kanban that is supported, upgraded 3 times a year, whatever else. You can make something simple that works for you. Tools are there to support you, right? Sometimes we get really attached. Oh, am I using Jira? Forget about it. It's not about doing Agile. It's not about that checklist. Yeah, I use Jira. I stand up 15 minutes. I'm Agile. No, forget about it. Make up something that works for you. Different Agile tools as SaaS in Salesforce. So yeah, sorry, tools again. There are many things out there. I like to make something very simple, and because it's in Salesforce, I can make it better and better as the needs of the team and the context change. Can the sprint duration vary depending on the amount of work? Let's not forget, time fix, cost fix, quality fix. What you toggle is the scope. So again, if we move a little bit about behavioral and how humans organize each other, think about, every year we have new year, we have new ideas for the new year. Or in your birthday, it's like, when I'm going to be this age, from now on. Why do we do these things? Why do we have these quarters, this season? Those things are fresh starts. So fresh starts is like a boost of motivation for whatever we do. Now, if you do those fresh starts very often, you get small wins. So keep the things the smaller as possible, especially with Salesforce. really, guys, in comparison with other things, from starting from scratch of no UX, no DB, no nothing, we have so much that is given to us. We can do very, very small sprints. I actually look for one sprint cycle of 1 week. And why? Is because since we are little, we have the week as a loop in our life. So just have what you have and try to make it better. So, but keep them short and keep them in a rhythm. Okay, what else? Since team doesn't update task info every day, good reports like burn down, burn up, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, yes, like any data, like if your customers, you make a quirky implementation, no one's putting data in the system, ain't going to work. Technology and tools are there as an enabler, right? They can enable things to happen, but by themselves, they do nothing. So you have a systemic problem that you need to address. What else? How to keep technical debt under control when coding best practices may not get attention on Agile projects. Okay, so similar to the idea of we fix quality, we fix time scope, we fix quality, we toggle with other things. And this is very normal. So if you think about the different things that we need to look after, we have visible features, let's say 50% of the thing that we take out, but you also have security and you have ability, usability and accessibility, and you also have validation of things coming in. Now, it's very normal that visible things really tries to get more percentage of what gets out there because they can be seen. So it's how do you handle these conversations so that, in fact, your product is sustainable over time. So we really need to help ourselves because we are closer to it. We know the ins and outs. So do not compromise tech debt. Yeah, a lot of tools out there, but yeah, to be honest, the last 3 we make it up ourselves, and it's been simple. We got there quicker, we got to use it, and then we get to enhance it because it's in Salesforce after all. To be a Scrum Master, do you need to have a full developer technical knowledge? Well, a Scrum Master itself is like extracted from the product, so theoretically, no. I actually really enjoy knowing about stuff in Salesforce, and I try not to interfere too much, but sometimes I know that there is some conflict thing that we could be doing, and so I will prompt my team saying, how we look at this? There is always more than one way to achieve something, but that idea that we can improve each other, we can give you the ideas and reach of what we do is good. So I really enjoy knowing about the product, but you don't have to. You do not have to. I think that's all the questions. I think.
Yeah, that's all, Ines.
Okay.
Okay, one last one. We'll take it.
How retrospective sessions will help Agile process How retrospective sessions will help Agile process? Is that depth on what went wrong? Sometimes lost to the hope of the developer mindset sometimes. Okay, let me try to explain. So retrospective, when we were looking at date cycle, is the very last thing that you do, let's say on a Friday, right? That's the last day of every week delivery. You pause for a second with your team. And as I was saying, we get really attached with the product. I get very excited and emotional about things that I want to put into the production. Now, we don't give ourselves enough time to look at the how we do things. We focus so much on the what do we do. But that retrospective is basically a time for you and your team to pause. Pause for a second, get perspective. What did we say we're going to do this week? What actually happened? Good stuff, bad stuff, medium stuff. And what are we going to try next time so that is better? Is that idea of better, value, sooner, safer, happier? You need to adapt your process. And at the beginning, they're going to be hard. I tell you, like sit down with grown-up adults and talk about this is hard. But after a while, you get comfortable with those conversations, and they are super valuable. It's the thing that is going to make it or break it. That iterative approach, controlling risk, increasing predictability. That's how you do it. Talking with the team and trying, experimenting on how you do things. And that sometimes is about, we haven't even looked at this part, when LWC start appearing, we need to find out how these things work. We're gonna keep at the back otherwise. So those things comes up, technical things, but as well, like, listen, my life has changed a lot. My kids are at home, whatever. The daily thing at 9 o'clock doesn't work. Can we do it after lunch? Yes, no. Anything that's gonna make your process better. So super important. Go for them. They're not the easiest thing, but if they are done well, they make a massive difference.
Yes, and once again, thank you. And honestly, I thought uh, there will be no more questions, but the questions were like so damn point specific and so informative as well to others, like how Agile works. Even the questions were like awesome. So yeah, thank you guys, and thanks a lot. Let me share my screen. I'll just